let's go back to 1978 when China kickstarted its staggering success. I mean, its GDP per capita was actually three times less than Africa's per capita GDP. Today, obviously, the case is different. In Africa, I think the per capita GDP is still less than $1,000, whilst China's per capita GDP is about 10,000 United States dollars. So that just shows that yes, there is hope indeed for developing regions such as Africa. The most important asset that China made use of, as the previous contributor said, was actually the people of China themselves, human capital, human resources. And Africa has that in abundance. Only about 3% of Africans are above the age of 65. So, which means the Africa is actually a very young continent. The future is Africa. President Joe Biden said Africa's future is the world's future, and he meant that in a literal sense, and he's right. So there is a lot indeed that Africa can learn from China, first of all, by harnessing the endless talent, that the endless potential that Africa has, especially in its young people. We also have to realize that apart from harnessing the talents of the young people, the future almost literally depends on making sure that Africa's youths have the necessary skills that are needed to sustain not only the future of Africa, but the future of the world. Because if we do not skill our young people the way China did, by the way, with its young people, it was sending hundreds of thousands to the West, the United States, Europe included, for education. If we do not do that deliberately as Africans, then we are lending ourselves susceptible to the conscription of young people into extremist groups, which has been happening in countries such as Nigeria and even in countries that have hitherto not been haunted by extremist violence, such as Mozambique. If we do not do that, then we are imperiling not only the future of Africa, but the future of the world as well. We have countries such as Nigeria that, at the current growth rate, will actually have more people than China come 2100. So these are just the potentials that Africa has, but the potential that can easily be devastating for the future of the world if young people do not follow some of the routes that China did. I'm not calling for the replication of what China did, because China developed by harnessing its specific realities and circumstances. And Africa should look inward, by the way. You are using the auspices of the African Union to see exactly the advantages that we have over the rest of the world, and see how we can use that for the betterment of Africa and ipso facto the betterment of the world as well.